Even though I was focused on beating Mr. Miyamoto, I heard some of you laughing. Don't try to
Reggilar show.
deny it. I heard.
Today we're going to be talking about why the Wii U sucks so hard. At least not maybe not quality-wise. Though
Right.
it might. Some of us might have it. You don't know. Keep watching.
That's the hook.
And just in terms of why has it failed in terms of sales? Why is it not caught on? So on and so forth. Sean, go.
All right. In my opinion, this is going to be interesting because I'm the big Nintendo guy. I work for them. I feel like what they've done with it is interesting. The gamepad is a step in a different direction from the Wii, because that was what they were doing with the Wii, is a step in a different direction to try and get, and it worked really well. It worked phenomenally. It caught on with the casual audience. And I feel like what they did with the Wii was try to go away from specifically catering to the casual audience, because I think with the Wii, they didn't intend on it being super, because that's what they were going for.
Well, okay,
But
that's kind of Nintendo's thing, is Nintendo just kind of throws stuff at a dartboard. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
But they design it well enough to, if it doesn't work, they still can they can scrape by.
Yeah. Well, I think that's actually an interesting point in terms of the casuals. Obviously, the Wii was a huge success because casuals liked it.
They latched onto it.
They latched onto it. They like swinging the thing, and the grandpas and the
He
babies.
can play
And
bowling.
they all...
He doesn't have to go to the bowling lane.
Right, yeah. You can just... I think the casuals have moved on. I think that's the problem. I think that was an interesting gateway to gaming for them. I'm not saying they're all playing COD now.
No.
But now, it doesn't seem that long ago, but when the Wii launched, it was a different time.
Yeah.
You have iOS now, and
That was
I won't
baby
even
stages back then.
I won't even mention anything else because I think that's where most of them went.
Right.
Why?
iPad. Yeah.
Yeah. Why buy a console when you can just have play on your phone and play Bejeweled or whatever the hell it is you're playing. And I think that's been
The main problem.
one of the main problems.
My thing that seems to be like its biggest problem is probably its amount of titles it has.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's not really been a killer app Wii U game yet.
Yeah.
You haven't had an actual real Zelda game, but you've had a million different Mario games.
And none of those caught on.
And none of those were caught on, exactly. Because the newest one I've heard really middling reviews for.
It sold pretty terribly too.
Yeah,
Along with the Wii U.
and then there's Luigi, we make a game about Luigi. It doesn't do anything. It's just anything I'm hearing about the Wii U, it's just I'm not excited for that. That does not make me want to buy your console.
That's
You need the console buyer.
Yeah. I mean we've talked about that. I think we've only reviewed one Wii U game on here, right?
Yes.
But I mean, I asked at the end, we were talking about Mario. I was like, "Is this a system seller?"
None of us.
No.
No.
I think that's a good point. And I think that's one of the main reasons. I think that's what's going to sell consoles at the end of the day is its library. I'm not saying the library can't improve eventually, but
you got to think it's a year in. It's almost a year and a half.
Nintendo
released
it's
in
just a year.
November.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just a year.
Nintendo's grand scheme to launch a console without any games on it apparently did not work. I mean, how long? Because I was thinking about getting a Wii U this Christmas, and I go, okay, so it comes with Wind Waker HD, which is a game I've already played about 17 times. What's the second game I'm going to get? Because I wanted an actual Wii U game, and I just couldn't come up with anything that I'd actually spend money on and, want to play.
Yeah.
Pikmin 3 is probably the thing I've suggested to you, and, Pikmin 3 is just not your game.
I'm not huge on Pikmin.
And that's fine. So,
but we were talking about secondary titles. Maybe I would pick a Pikmin eventually. I'm not going to buy a system with Pikmin, though.
Right.
That's the thing. Where is that?
Well, that's why
where is that game? That's the problem.
Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze might be that for you.
Yeah, but even then, I don't know if I'd pay, however, $300 or whatever to play Tropical Freeze.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure it'll be. I don't know. Maybe it'll suck, but
I'm sure Smash is what the system seller is going to be whenever it comes out.
Yeah, I mean, I'll play.
Because isn't it just 2014 sometime?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Smash, which would be nice to know, by the way, we were talking about this. It'd be nice if he gave me a general time so I could know whether to buy it for Christmas or just wait until next year.
Yeah. Wait until the price goes down or whatever.
Well, whatever. You guys
plan your
work,
purchase out, maybe.
video game industry. You work that out yourself. But I think that they don't have a killer app. I don't think they have something where I'm like, what's a game I'm gonna play for like 200 hours? I mean, I guess I don't really need that, but where is that game?
That's the thing that gets the system for you. Because there's maybe three types of there's two people I can think of right now. There's the people who buy a console to play a specific game because that's what it is for them, and then they pick up other titles because I finally got the system. There's been games I was interested in, but not selling it for me. And then there's the other people who just buy this system because it's a new system, and that's like me. Yeah. Because I'm the only person. Aside from Kyle, that owns a Wii U.
I would say most people buy systems because of the first reason.
Right.
It's these are the games I'm looking forward to. I'm gonna buy it because
that's why I got my computer, was because Skyrim came out, and that's a console sort of.
Right.
I mean,
it's a replacement for a console.
I would get a computer to play like Civ 5 and XCOM on it, and then whatever else I discover there. I mean, that's fine, but. I'm looking for Smash and Zelda personally.
Yeah.
When that comes
or
out,
like a Metroid or something.
Just
one of the bigs besides Mario. They've been concentrating entirely too much on Mario.
Yeah, because I'd probably buy to play a new Metroid game. Yeah. But like if it's
as long as it wasn't made by Team Ninja.
Yes. Don't
or
do
the
that ever again.
Or the people who made Corruption, which is interestingly enough retro.
Which is retro.
Anyway,
no, Prime 3 Corruption was a million times better than Other M.
Really?
I'll say that.
That's hard to do.
Other M sucks.
We'll save some of this for our inevitable Metroid review.
Yes,
down
but,
the road, but
you need that, and we were talking about that. I think that's the main thing. I think at the end of the day, that's probably what it is in terms of the games.
Especially because it's a Nintendo system.
Yeah.
What sells Nintendo at the end of the day is always their killer app.
I don't think this was a super. In terms of what I was talking about with the casuals, I don't think that this is a super. Casual system.
No,
I guess.
it's not.
I wouldn't say so, and that's fine because they have moved on in terms of the casual market. But in terms of attempting to court some of those, you guys have probably heard this before, and you guys may or may not know this. How little regular people know about video games, like in terms of
so much.
Yeah, in terms of like they don't know. Anything. No, we obviously kind of live and breathe this kind of stuff. We know all of this shit. For the people who bought the Wii, this is their first console shift. Like in terms of generational shift. I mean, we've seen the song and dance like 4 times now.
Yeah.
How do you know that there's
that's the thing? It's
consoles
like why is this different from the last thing? Is what
exactly,
a lot of them are
and that's why
asking.
they call it the Wii U because. Like they thought it'd be like, the brain recognition. I've heard a lot of people just thought it was a tablet add-on.
As we did in the Black Thursday.
Right. We actually convinced
the Black
somebody.
That it was a...
Yeah.
That it was a tablet add-on.
Yeah. And
was it you?
No, I thought for a second, and then I was like, no, that's not what
the U
that
screen.
is. Yeah, the U screen.
Right. It was the new
I thought, you were trying to convince me that they were up-converting Wii's into Wii U's.
With the U screen.
With the U screen. Anyway.
On that
so it's
subject,
confusing. I mean, not to me or us, but to the grandpas and the babies.
To the general public.
Yeah, they don't know anything. So you kind of have to, baby steps through, and...
Well, my thing is, I don't think these people bought it because they didn't need another thing. Because not only why is it different, but what does it do differently that I need this system? Because for us, we need it for the next games.
Yeah.
But for you, like you said, these people
all they've been doing is playing bowling for the last 8 years.
Where was the bowling?
Yeah.
Where was that? I mean, not saying you couldn't you can't just make bowling again because they already have bowling.
Right.
And I actually thought Nintendo Land was pretty good.
Nintendo Land was... I loved it.
It's actually a fair amount of fun with Nintendo Land, but I think that's what people come to Nintendo for. I think because Nintendo's always doing these new stuff. I mean, a lot of times it doesn't work, sometimes it does, but it's always kind of exciting to see what they're doing. Yeah. And I just haven't seen that. I haven't seen anything justify the gamepad yet. Though I did think the Luigi's Mansion game in Nintendo Land was quite fun, quite bitchin'. Yes.
It just seems like you need a person in your group of friends that's an ambassador, and that's all you need right now.
Yeah.
Because, like, basically all you guys need is me, and you guys
it also like changes the gameplay mechanics of the console itself because it adds that fifth player in. Like up until this point in the video game universe, it's like 4 players on a console. That's really your max.
Yeah.
And then this has finally brought in a 5th person, and it's just like they haven't really figured a way to integrate that yet. And most couches can't fit 5 people.
That's the biggest problem.
That's the biggest problem.
I'm a big fan of asymmetrical multiplayer gameplay, so I kind of like that attempt to make that a thing. I just, like I said, I don't think anything's come out that's really sold the general public on the gamepad.
Yeah.
One more issue I have to say, and it's a minor one, but I think it's important. The whole asymmetrical thing, they also, for a long time, have been talking about it, having the second gameplay, or gamepad ability, which would then open up 6-player asymmetrical, which would be, like, this is what Nintendo does. They changed the formula. I'd love to see it, but they still haven't delivered on that one promise that they did.
I mean,
that would improve the Wii U.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think we're about out of time, but in terms of, like, the last thing, I think there's a lot to like about, maybe not even necessarily the Wii U, but there's a lot to like about Nintendo. That's clearly why we're doing a show about it. There's no DLC shenanigans, no...
Wait, this show is about liking Nintendo?
Apparently, that's what I've been told. We're pretty negative, I think.
Yeah.
But, there's a lot to like.
We're real. We show them tough love.
Yeah, tough love.
And I think
we can still keep going, but at all points.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that there is a lot to like about Nintendo. Obviously, I think particularly modern consoles. I haven't got my hands on the newer ones yet, but there was just to me in this gen there was a lot of bullshit. There was a lot of patches and
paying for a beta into the game.
DLC and here's online passes, all that kind of shit. And to me, what I like about Nintendo is that they don't do that. That's not there. You don't have that horse shit going.
And I kind of agree a little bit, but except for like DLC stuff, because some DLC I understand as a good business practice is actually like worth it. But it's because they're but it's like the execution of
DLC has kind of become a bad word, I think, recently. DLC as a concept is fine. Obviously, like you said, the execution of it is real bad. It's very much just kind of milking people for more cash or whatever. And I don't know. To me, Nintendo just sometimes you go, why didn't you do that? Like they just seem to exist in their own,
their
universe,
own world,
their own plane of existence.
Their own.
And
Like
the Nintendo-verse.
The Nintendo-verse, the Miiverse, if you will.
Yes.
And it's sort of like, you look at something like the Wii, or you looked at the Wii, there's like missing so many things that you would think a modern console would have. They always seem to be not behind the times.
Can the Wii U still not do HD, or can that finally?
No, it can, but it's just like, where's the internet infrastructure, or why doesn't it look as good as the other ones, and
why is it now we're getting a shared wallet?
Right.
Wii
Yeah.
and 3DS,
it's just sort of like Nintendo's always the weird odd duck out of the three. It's said before. When a new gen rolls around, it's always Microsoft and Sony are all showboating each other and trying to one up each other, and Nintendo's just kind of off in the corner, sticking its dick in an electrical socket, which is basically seems to be Nintendo's business model. But sometimes you just kind of like I want Nintendo to succeed. Like I kind of want some of these business practices, like I want them rewarded, because like I said, they don't allow third-party DRM on their stuff.
Yeah. So
they don't let you do online passes or any of that crap. And I like, that's good. Like, that's a pro-consumer stance or whatever, but because it's lacking in other areas, I feel like nobody gets it, because even the Wii wasn't a hardcore game
Well,
machine.
and it's because it's... I think that if they were staying competitive with other systems and kept that mind of no DRM,
Yeah.
they would get huge amounts of sales because people would buy that specifically because it doesn't have DRM on certain games that are for it.
But then the third parties who make those don't get to see that money that they want.
Yeah.
'Cause that's what it's not only just Xbox and PlayStation that are getting that money; it's the third parties. And that does hurt because we didn't even think about that before. Third party support is something that really hurts the Wii U as well.
Yeah, Nintendo's always had problems with third-party support. I mean, that's old hat.
I mean, they play by their own rules, and they expect. Well, I mean, they do, and then they expect everybody else
Right.
to do the same.
What they need to do, if you think about some kind of utopian future where there's basically a PS4 that doesn't have any DRM crap on it and has Nintendo first-party titles on it, that would be like the best system ever. Like, I want them to make that system. I want it to be a comparable system to the other ones with like a controller that you play things and you can play online or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, but they won't make it because Nintendo has a need to be different, I think. And
Also,
I think that helps them and hurts them a lot.
on a business model, you need different companies to create, the differences between the companies so that they can actually compete against each other.
Right.
Because if it was just Sony and Microsoft, what would they be doing? Like, how would you... If there was no Nintendo, it was just Sony and Microsoft, eventually one of the two companies would just become a clear winner because they're both doing the same thing, essentially. Mm-hmm. So without a third person, or even like if it was just down to two people and one of them did something different, there's enough to say, oh, well, this one is different enough that you need two different systems to get everything the video game industry has to offer.
I mean, but even then, you can say it comes down to the games, you know? So, basically, the difference between these systems would be the exclusive titles.
Yeah.
And if they couldn't stand up to Nintendo on that, then they would lose. I mean, that's just how it would be. I think there needs to be kind of, like, because Sony and Microsoft don't really do a ton of first-party stuff.
No.
I mean, they don't really do any first-party stuff.
Sony does more than Microsoft. But...
Sony definitely does, which is why I think, retroactively, I think the PS3 was better than the 360. Just because I think the exclusives were better. But, it's really the controller and the games at the end of the day.
For you, yeah?
Yeah.
What would you say... I was going to ask Jesse what for him makes a console. Like...
Well, ask him.
Yeah, like you were
He's just
controlling
sitting
the
right
game.
here.
I am just sitting right here.
Well, I
Jesse,
thought you were done with your point.
what defines a console for you?
A thing that I can play games on.
I mean, you've kind of moved to PC.
I have moved to PC, and that's why it's hard for me to define what I want in a console, because a PC is what I want in a console. I want to literally be able to play, like, that's the thing, is like I don't particularly care for exclusivity anymore.
Yeah.
Because I want to be able to still play things like BioShock and stuff, and I don't want it to be exclusive to say, like, I would really love to play a new Metal Gear Solid game, but I'm now going to have to buy a console on top of having a computer.
Right.
Or something akin to that,
So for you, it's like, there are some exclusives you really wish you could play, but the ability to play as many games
as
you
possible.
like as
yeah,
possible.
and that's like, and I would not be able to get that experience out of a Nintendo console, like, at all.
Right.
At this point in the game.
Because I think with KJ's like utopian thing, that's essentially the PC, except if PC had actual good controller support, that would essentially be it.
But then
So,
where's the Nintendo first party?
Well,
So, like, if
stuff on a
Nintendo and Steam had a baby, I'd be cool with that.
Basically, but see, I think that the call for no exclusivity, I think, is certainly appealing. Mm-hmm. But like, I think that look at Sega, for instance, right? So Sega was doing consoles, and now Sega doesn't, obviously. When was the last like really good Sega game you played?
90s.
When they were running consoles, because when
I don't know.
does Nintendo has to put everything into the games they make because they're trying to win people over. They're trying to sell a console, and that's really about the only reason anyone buys Nintendo consoles anyways.
True. That's what makes a console for me.
They're trying to make their console special, you know, and you gotta put everything into that, you know, like, would the quality of Nintendo games decrease if there was no console to sell? Would they care as much? I mean, because like I said, Sega hasn't made anything good in like ever.
Since it stopped making its consoles, yeah.
I mean, there's something to rally around, I think. I mean, I'm not saying that it's necessarily good in terms of exclusivity, but I don't know. Like, I'm just worried about if there was no exclusivity. I'm worried about Nintendo, basically.
Yeah. Because they've obviously got the handheld market cornered. They're going to have that as long as that's around, so there's no worry there. But why... they're going to be difficult to squeeze out of this with a GameCube-like victory for the Wii U in the end. I mean, to be honest, even with Smash.
Yeah. Unless Smash is just, like, as good as Melee was.
Right. Well, I mean, like, even if it is, because there's no way they can get back to Wii numbers. It's impossible now. And Smash isn't going to appeal to that many people.
Yeah.
It's going to appeal to gamers, and so they probably will squeeze out GameCube numbers. That's my hope. Like, that's the best case scenario for me.
It's like
it's GameCube numbers.
Hey,
As a Nintendo fanatic.
You know what, Nintendo? The GameCube didn't sell well, but it has a special place in my heart.
So we've got two.
We got
two.
Look at that.
Dose.
You know what? And if the Wii U turns out that way, I mean, obviously, like, I'm not making or losing any money on this, so obviously I wouldn't care. But if the Wii U turns out like the GameCube does, where it's sort of a... Because everybody loves GameCube now. We look back on it from... You know, it had tons of good shit on it. And,
we all grew up with it, so...
Yeah, but, you know, like, just keep making good games, I think. That's, at the end of the day, you know, history will smile upon you. Eventually. You guys have like $1 million billion shit zillion dollars anyways, so you guys will be alright, I think.
They do have rights to Pokemon.
Closing comments? Yeah, Evan.
Nintendo!
Obviously showing the unbiased in our show.
I mean PC!
Well, I will say this. It's interesting. It's interesting how different the handheld and home consoles are. Yeah. That they at least have that to fall back on. So, we'll see.
Like I said, in terms of my final statements, you guys have all the money. You're going to be okay. Just keep making good stuff. And maybe some people will buy your games or something. Right. But, like, you know, just stay strong. That's what I say.
All right.
Get out.
Get out.